Also in the occupied West Bank, Oscar-winning Palestinian filmmaker Hamdan Ballal has been detained by the Israeli army after a group of masked Israeli settlers attacked his house. Witnesses say he was detained in the village of Sushia and had injuries to his head and stomach. Settlers also assaulted other activists in the village. Crew members who worked on No Other Land have previously been attacked. The documentary covers Palestinians as they fight to protect their homes from being demolished by Israeli forces. Hamdan is a Palestinian co-director of the 2024 Oscar-winning documentary No Other Land in the occupied West Bank. Produced by a Palestinian-Israeli team, it focuses on the destruction of West Bank villages by Israeli forces. The filmmakers described their work as an act of resistance in pursuit of justice. It has won dozens of prizes since its release last year, including at the Berlin Film Festival and the New York Film Critics Circle Awards. Now, members of No Other Land have been attacked by Israeli settlers before. Well, for more on this, we're going to bring in Diana Buttu. She is a Palestinian lawyer and activist. She joins us from Doha. Thanks so much for being with us, Diana. First of all, there were a few details of what happened to Hamdan Ballal, but do you know any more about the specific circumstances as he was detained?
What we do know is that the Israeli army, as well as Israeli settlers, have been going after the people who are living in this area of Musafir Yatta. And we also know that in this area, the settlers have been emboldened because it's often the case that the Israeli army is backing these settlers as they're going out and attacking Palestinians. So we saw the video yesterday of these settlers attacking him. But beyond that, we don't know any additional details because he was very swiftly taken and put into Israeli custody. So even though he is the person who's been the aggrieved, he's the person who's been harmed, he's the person who's been attacked, he's also the person who's going to face the wrath of the Israeli army.
How concerning is it that no one has been able to contact him since he's been detained? And what rights does he or anyone that is detained by the Israeli military actually have in terms of legal access to a lawyer?
Well, look, in terms of what's happened to him, it's not at all unusual. What we've been seeing, particularly over the course of the past year and a half, is an escalation of these attacks by Israeli settlers. And despite the fact that there are often complaints filed against these Israeli settlers, we've seen time and again that the vast majority of these complaints go nowhere. In fact, it's more than 98% rate of closure of these files. In other words, nobody is held to account. And there's a reason for this, is that it's not just the settlers who are acting alone, it's the settlers in combination with the army. And so while the army will sometimes say that these are rogue settlers, at the end of the day, it's the settlers who are actually doing much of the work that the army wants to be done. In other words, they want Palestinians off of their land so that they can ethnically cleanse the place and build more and more settlements. In terms of what their rights are, that's a totally different matter altogether. And because there is a dual system of laws, there's a system of apartheid, where one set of rules applies to Palestinians, another set of rules applies to Israelis. You can only imagine what it means for somebody like Hamdan, where he's going to have to try to get lawyer after lawyer to represent him and will never really get any justice, and certainly will never get any compensation from these settlers who are attacking him.
Is there hope that that his case, that his profile as an Oscar winner will actually raise the level of international awareness of what is actually happening right now in the occupied West Bank?
Well, certainly, that's always the hope. The hope is always that if people can connect, that they will then act and they'll do something. But if anything has been shown over the course of the past year and a half, is that Israel can quite literally get away with murder. It's gotten away with genocide. And so I don't really have a whole lot of faith that the Israelis are going to behave any differently. It is important to highlight his case, as it is important to highlight the cases of all Palestinians. But given the level of impunity that Israel has been enjoying, I don't see that it's going to change Israeli behavior in any way, shape or form.
Yeah, his was just one of many arrests over the last couple of days. There have been more raids in the occupied West Bank. One of those people that was arrested was actually released earlier during Israel's prisoners swap deal with Hamas. This really was one of the great fears for many people, wasn't it, that Israel would basically try and scoop up as many prisoners that it had just released only weeks or months ago?
Yes, Tom, this is exactly the problem, is that there's this revolving door when it comes to imprisonment, that Israel uses the tool of mass incarceration to try to control Palestinians. And so on the one hand, they will release them in the terms of an agreement. And yet on the other hand, there's nothing stopping them from rearresting Palestinians. So much so that it's about 40% of all Palestinian males have spent some form of time, sometime in an Israeli prison. It's the highest rate of incarceration in the world. And it's because Israel creates this system whereby the means of controlling Palestinians is through their incarceration, through their imprisonment. The fact that the only way to stop it is through some sort of an agreement, some sort of exchange, some sort of a swap, shows you just how broken this international system is. Instead, we should be focusing on ending Israel's system of mass incarceration rather than trying to come up with ways to accommodate it.
Thank you so much, Diana. As always, we really do appreciate your insight. Diana Buttu, Palestinian lawyer and activist. Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.